Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today with Joburg's grooviest two-piece band, Up Your Sleeve. I'm super stoked that, the guys are here. Well, it's only Alex today. Mark is like commitment, but, there's a lot to talk about as always. And I'm just super stoked to find out more about this brilliant, brilliant band. Now, the fact that you guys are a two-piece band, Alex, bro, would you say this is sort of like or rather, let me just ask, how has that experience been for you, considering that, most bands that, come up generally have the whole setup. They've got the bassist, they've got the guitarist, they've got the drummer, they've got someone on synth and all that there. With you guys, it's just the two of you. Would you say this is also maybe, does this add more work to what you guys have to do? Is it an enjoyable process? Let me in on that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot more work, I think, because we all playing all the instruments. We playing the synths, we playing the basses, we're doing everything, but we do it all in the studio beforehand. Build everything onto like an Ableton session, and then we can play with the parts that we've previously recorded live with drums and bass and guitar and synths. So we can have we can have a full band on stage, but on stage there's only two of us, which is difficult, but it's fun. It's a lot of work. But yeah, session guys are expensive. You either get some good ones and they come across well and they're cheap and they do well, but like they're expensive and we're musicians. So that's the that's the joke.
Yeah, and with you guys, I mean, the fact that when you guys started this band initially, has it always been just like the both of you, just two of you, or was there a stage where the band was sort of like there was three guys and four guys? Because what you usually find is, with some of the bands, you'll find that there's two people, and they initially started this there with there having been more guys in the band, and maybe people left or people weren't committed, and then the two people that remain standing are like, you know what, let's take matters into our own hands. What sort of led to you guys being just a two-piece band?
We started off as a three-piece. We were all studying at Wits together music, and the three of us, and eventually it just split up into two, and we're still great friends with the third member. She's an amazing guitarist, but it ended up as a two-piece, and we carried on gigging as a two-piece. But it's evolved over time, so it wasn't always so electronic. It wasn't always so synth based as it is now. It would literally be the two of us on stage, drums, bass, vocals, and that was it. So we just try to fill up the space as much as we could. Now with the advantage of technology, we can bring more of the music that we make to the stage, which is quite exciting.
Now that makes a lot of sense, bro. And the fact that you guys are also based in Joburg, how has that sort of treated you guys? How does Joburg sort of, receive, Up Your Sleeves music and stuff? When you guys go out and play live, is there an audience that comes out? And I think this could also be a chance for some insights on the Joburg scene in general, in terms of like, is there a healthy scene up there?
Yeah, I think the Joburg scene has been a bit dead with COVID. It's coming back. As I'm recording now, we booked a gig for October, so I'm sure by the time this comes out, we'll be back on stage. But we haven't gigged since 2019. It's been very, very dead. It's been very, very, very odd with COVID. A lot of venues have closed, but there's a couple new venues popping up that are awesome, that are just rocking some amazing shows. So there's it's starting to pick up again, and it's quite exciting. Now that everybody's starting to get vaccinated and people can go to shows, it's really starting to pick up. And yeah, I'm looking quite forward to getting back on stage. I think the whole of Joburg is looking forward to getting back to gigs, because it's just been so long where we actually haven't been able to get together and listen to some good music.
You mentioned a really good point there with, venues, or rather gigs. The last gig that you guys played was in 2019 and stuff. Besides taking a massive hit when it comes to actual live gigs, what else did you guys sort of have to adapt, towards, or what did you have to sort of change when we look at your guys' approach, when considering COVID as a whole?
We just pulled out completely. So we just sat in the studio and we worked our butts off in the studio. We have our own studio, so we can just spend as much time in it as possible and just make new music, work on how to play all the electronic stuff live. That was a big thing. But the main thing that COVID allowed us to do was we always wanted to turn it into like an electronic rock project. And with the 2-year gap of no gigs, we were able to synthesize that approach into the set that we already had. So we were able to bring more life into the music, which I think is really positive, and it's helped us a lot. And it's sounding pretty. It sounds a lot more massive now. So when people come to see Up Your Sleeve live now, it's going to be completely different, but it's 10 times better. So yes, it was terrible not to gig for 2 years, but when we're back on stage, it's monstrous.
One of the things that also stands out with you guys is obviously, the sloth and the dinosaur. Is there a story behind that?
We have a friend, Robbie Fripp, and he's a great graphic designer, and we wanted to do a logo and make some t-shirts, and the t-shirts never happened because of COVID and all this stuff. So he designed us this logo, and he basically just said, what are your spirit animals? So Mark was like, okay, I'm a sloth. And I was like, I guess I'll be a lizard then, my weird crocodile brain. And he put it together, and it was really dope, and it's stuck. People always say, "Oh, we look exactly like the logo," so it worked. It worked. It wasn't. It also happenstance. Like that's the best part with working with creatives, is you never know what people are going to come up with. You can just guide people in certain ways, and when people let their own minds fly, that's when the good stuff comes out.
Yeah, that is so true, man. Earlier or when we started this interview, you mentioned something really interesting there, in that Mark, he's away and he's got a commitment, with another band. So obviously, Up Your Sleeve wouldn't be the only band that you guys are sort of focused on, right? So, considering that, and keeping that in mind, would you say that sort of adds, to the pressure of this being, spearheaded by just two people? Or would you say that working with other bands, on the side sort of helps, add some value to, Up Your Sleeve?
I think to a certain extent it does, because if you're more comfortable playing on stage, especially like Indie Dog, the other band Mark plays for, plays really epic festivals. They're a top-notch band. So he's gotten so much experience from playing with them, and it's helped us in the live space so much. So I think it's a huge attribute to be playing with as many people as possible. I don't think there's pressure though, because between the two of us, we get on really well and can just hang out in the studio a lot of the time. So there's no real pressure to release a lot of music. There's no real pressure to force ourselves to be the pinnacle project that we have in mind. It's always been a passion project. It's always been about us being together and escaping from the academic musical side of things. That was the original concept, and it's just played out like that. And we've been able to play shows, and we've been able to get some great gigs, and it's worked really well for us. That we just have fun first, and worry about all the trajectory and making it later. That's secondary to having fun making music together, which I think it's helped us a lot. It's helped us a lot because there's no pressure. There's no pressure. It's all about having fun and making music.
I really like relate to what you just said, man, with your guys' approach on this, because when it comes to, like a proper sort of band setup where you'll find that, you guys are forced to sort of have like the structured thing, it's really dope to have something that you can do as well, where you can just go crazy with the creativity and not sort of be held back by any sort of formal structure in a way. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's one of the things that gets you guys, as good as you are, as a band. And as you say, you
Yeah.
guys obviously get along as well. So yeah, would you say that that creative freedom sort of helps, make the band what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the start of the day, we write actually pretty simple music for live shows and stuff, but it's all the extra wizardry that we do with the computers that make it really fun. And that's all the hours, that's all the hard work, that's all the time spending creating these sounds and these landscapes, these soundscapes in our songs. And that's always fun because the sky is the limit. We don't have to worry about who's gonna like this, who's not gonna like this. It's all about what we like, and if we like it, then it gets put on the album, and that's that.
Hey, that is very beautiful, bro. Obviously, the elephants in the room on the 25th of June, this year, you guys released, Fuzzy Space, the EP. And,
Yeah,
what's interesting to me, Alex, is that, earlier on you threw the word, what did you call it? You said it was electronic rock, right? And then
yeah,
you sort of look at, Fuzzy Space EP has got various different sort of influences, bro, from what I picked up. Firstly, you guys have labeled it as, an alternative, sort of projects, on there, in terms of the metadata and all that there. But when I
Yeah,
was listening to the project, tracks like, Sun in My Eyes, Far Away, El Dorado, they have a very rock and roll sort of inspired, riffs and whatnot with the
yeah,
with the kind of distortion you guys used on there. And then you get tracks like, Don't Lose Your Head being very inspirational, in the way that you guys have done, the lyrics on there. And obviously with the track, I'm trying to remember as I was, listening to them, a track like Red Sails, as well as Don't Lose Your Head. I would say from what I was listening to overall with the five tracks, I would say those two tracks there are sort of different from the others. Like I got more of a mellow or more chilled sort of vibe from these two tracks there. So I feel like with this project, you guys have something that is very complete, sort of something, for
yeah.
everyone. Was this sort of the angle that you guys were going for when you guys, started working on this beautiful piece of, music, and creative content?
All those songs just started off as acoustic guitar songs. That we added layers and layers and layers onto them. So if you heard them originally, how we used to play them live, you'd say it's a different band. But yeah, I think getting in the studio allowed us to expand on it. But I think the main thing was we weren't trying to make music for anybody else but ourselves. It's a bit selfish, fair to say, but we thought that if we enjoyed it, that was the most important thing.
Can I just step in there? Sorry, Alex, bro. Like,
Sorry, I'm
I
answering the wrong question.
no, 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 no. Dude, it's perfect. What I actually want to say is, I actually, what you're saying, I don't think is selfish at all, because pretty much, like, I look at things very much in a similar way, in that, if you do things, that basically appeal to you and things that you enjoy and love and something that'll make you happy, you basically uh, anything that you do in that sort of manner is worth it, bro, because it's
Yeah,
basically you're doing it for your enjoyment and you're enjoying it. And anyone who
yeah,
actually is attracted to that there, is your target audience. That's how you know that,
yeah,
okay, so and so is my target audience. They relate to what I'm trying to do. Because I mean, if you guys had to conform and sort of, go wherever the tide is going and do, mainstream sort of, vibes, then you sort of sacrificing, your happiness and what you like doing just to sort of please other people, So it's actually a dope approach, man. I
yeah.
like that. It's not selfish at all, I'd say.
Absolutely. And I think our aim is always been to try and not make anything sound like somebody else. It's very easy to go to a gig and say, "Oh, that band sounds like Kings of Leon," or "Oh, that band sounds like the Chili Peppers," and I think that happens a lot in the South African environment, and it's because that's what we listen to. We listen to the music and we synthesize our own music from what we've learned. But if you try and abstract yourself from those things, a lot more interesting things can happen musically. So what we found is if we found a guitar tone or something and we're like, oh, that sounds like the Foo Fighters. It sounds awesome. And we figured it out and we're like, that sounds awesome. Let's change it because it sounds like a Foo Fighters. Not let's keep it because it sounds like the Foo Fighters. And I think that approach it stimulates the creative process a lot because it's always pushing you to try new things.
It's a very good explanation that you gave there. The fact that you don't keep it just because it sounds like, Foo Fighters, it gives you even more of a reason to change it because it sounds like
Yeah,
that. That's a really brilliant approach, man. And I
yeah.
think that's one of the things that makes you guys stand out, as a band. Looking at Fuzzy Space, as an EP, why Fuzzy Space? Where does the name come from?
Sure. It was originally like when we first we've been recording that album since 2017 because we carried on changing things and we were never really happy with how things came out and how we recorded things and we just weren't happy. And now in COVID, when we had the time to mess with all the studio toys, it morphed into a completely different project. So it was originally going to be the Sun in My Eyes EP. And we had the artwork done for it with beautiful artwork with the sloth and the lizard floating in a pool. and it was really cool, and it worked. And then we sat in the studio with the toys, and it completely changed. And we didn't know what to label it anymore. So Fuzzy Space came out, and we just stuck with it because it's spacey and fuzzy, and we didn't really know where it was coming from.
No, that is very beautiful, man. And as I pointed out earlier, man, like, with a track like "Don't Lose Your Head," it sticks out to me because it has, an inspirational message. You guys go chin up, don't lose
Mm.
your head. Where does that
Yeah.
sort of come from? Is there like something? Did something happen that made you guys sort of want to write that, or is it just more like you got together and you're like, hey, let's write something motivational? No way.
I think lyrically, I write a lot of the lyrics. Mark does the embellishments. He makes what comes out of my brain sound 3 million times better, and he helps me reword things and stuff like that. I suffer from depression, so don't lose your head was kind of like a mental note to myself, like keep your shit together, Alex. Um, it's kind of talking to myself more than anything else. So I think a lot of the songs relate to your own personal experience in any kind of way. And I've chatted to people that have come to the gigs and say, oh, I love that song, it makes me feel like this and this and this. And that's of course not the intention of the piece, but the fact that it can inspire somebody else to feel something in their own situation is super super inspiring for us. So like now when you say, oh no, it's inspiring, don't lose your head, and I'm just thinking, oh, I wrote the song because I'm a sad bastard. It's inspiring for us, and it pushes us to write more self-aware music. I think we write more internally. We write about our own lives. We write about things that matter to us. It's fun to write about random shit, but you never know how it comes off. Like we're working on a new project now, but we haven't even got a name for the song yet. But it's this weird sci-fi story about some guy selling a machine to some dude, and that's the lyrics of the song. But it sounds cool, so we're just like, let's just do it. Let's see how it comes out, and it doesn't sound like Fuzzy Space at all, which is also awesome. So there's always these layers to how you write the song, and I think the first layer always has to start with something personal, because then if you're feeding into something that really matters to you, when you sing it, when you play it, when you record it, that emotion comes through in the piece of music. That feeling, that inspiration, that fire comes through, and without that it just sort of lays flat. And I think to dig deep into yourself and to find that inspiration really puts a song on another level, which is difficult and scary and makes you feel super vulnerable, but it's transformative and it's cathartic, and it's actually what musicians need to do. In my opinion, we need to get all the rubbish that are running around in our heads out in the best way possible, and just try to explain yourself through a piece of music.
Bro, you are throwing around some gems right there. So many quotables in what you just said. This is really brilliant. And the fact that you guys dropped this EP, whenever an artist releases, a piece of work, it's always massive. It's huge. No matter what, you may think of yourself, no matter what the numbers are, you guys created something, you invested time and money, into making, the project what it is. When you guys released this project, what were the feelings, in the camp? So when I say the camp, I mean family. How was everyone sort of feeling about you guys releasing this body of work?
Yeah, I think we were working on it for so long. My mom was the funniest because she listened to it and she said, "I didn't know you were recording these songs." And she thought, "No, I thought you were doing completely new music." And they everybody seemed chuffed. Everybody seemed super happy, and they liked the way it had changed so much, because they'd heard it in one context, and now in a new context, it made old music sound new again, which was quite exciting. But at the same time, I think for us personally, it was just a huge relief, because we'd been gigging these songs for 5 years and just never gotten them to a place where we'd be happy to release them on any platform. And when we got them out, we were like, oh yes, this feels so great. And everybody was like, this sounds so awesome. It doesn't sound anything like you, but it sounds awesome. And now we're playing it live in the studio, and people walk around and they hear it, and they're super chuffed, and they can see the progression in our music. And I think that that's inspiring to us personally, when you get encouraged from that point of view, like, oh, I'm so glad you're growing. When other people say it, it's a lot more than when you think it yourself.
Yeah, and considering that the fact that you guys dropped this, in 2021 is really recent, is there going to be some sort of follow up to it? Are you guys maybe going to shoot a music video for one of the tracks, or are you going to be following it up with, the sci-fi story single that you
Oh,
were telling me about?
you're gonna I'm gonna we've got two tracks in the works right now, and they're completely different. They're very hard rock based. They're very heavy. They're very different, and that's the progression, and that's what's going to come out later this year. Two new songs that add to the picture, and that's the hope, that we just carry on writing, carry on releasing, carry on pushing ourselves to create things that we wouldn't create previously, and see how it comes out. And if people like it, people like it. That's goal number one.
I can tell, Alex, that this is going to be, or these two tracks are going to be really dope because of just, I could hear it in your voice, man. There was this bright, sort of tone and feeling and warmth to your voice when you mentioned, these two tracks. Do you think you could drop us, some dates, like when we can expect these to be released?
We were looking now at September, and then I got super sick. This freaking pandemic, and so we've been a bit delayed, but they are steaming, piping hot, and need a few tweaks, and they'll be out hopefully by the end of the year. We'll have some nice little Christmas releases for everyone.
Oh, something to look forward to there. A nice little, Christmas gift for we all fans of, Up Your Sleeve. I'm super stoked for that, bro. And obviously, we almost done. I just wanted to touch on the point that you were mentioning earlier about, gigs opening up. You mentioned a gig that is coming up. Just let us in on the gigs that are planned, for the rest of the year, so that if anyone is listening and they're keen on coming through, they can do so.
I think for us, everything is always, it's a bit up in the air in Joburg at the moment with restrictions and stuff. So we've got to play everything by ear. So hopefully at the end of October, we'll be playing Sonage. That the new venue, it's epic. So hopefully we'll be playing there at the end of October. But the best thing to do is just keep an eye out for our Instagram and check the dates. And yeah, just come have a jaw with us, come drink a beer with us, come chat to us. Let us know what you think of the music. That would be awesome. We want to meet you.
Yeah, that is a very good point to sort of end it off on. You did mention there that if people want to find out more in terms of gigs and everything else, they should go to your social media pages. So you can basically just plug those for us. How do you reach out to you guys and where do we find you
So
online?
so number one is Up Your Sleeve ZA on Instagram. That's where we put up everything. That's, if you want any news, that's the place to go. Otherwise, listen to our stuff on Spotify, listen to Fuzzy Space, listen to some of the old music that we don't listen to anymore, and enjoy it, and let us know what you think. We always keen to hear responses. So if you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, the most important thing is, if you don't like it, download it and send a copy to your ex. Make sure they don't like it too. So the music gets played. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Hey, that is awesome, man. I've never heard a plug like that before. It's a first, and it's really dope. I like it. I really like it, bro. Alex, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate that you took some time out to have this chat with me about the band, about Fuzzy Space EP, and I really just hope that everyone else that was listening, to the episode has learned more about the band, and is super stoked to also go and then purchase and get a copy of Fuzzy Space EP. And obviously, guys, if you're listening to this, do tune in. It's on SoundCloud. We are Sludge Underground Podcast. On Spotify, Sludge Underground Podcast. And Apple Podcasts, we are Sludge Underground Podcast. Social media, at Sludge Underground. And on Twitter, we are at Sludge031. Everywhere else, it's at Sludge Underground. So, yeah, guys, it's been an awesome time with Alex of Up Your Sleeve. Alex, bro, which track do you reckon we should play for the people here, from Fuzzy Space?
Oh, which one do you like most? I've heard these songs 3 million times.
I think I would say Red Sails.
Yeah, let's clap Red Sails.
All right, sick, bro. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're closing out with Red Sails by Up Your Sleeve. Until next time, it's bye for now.
Like nothing's ever wrong. How do you stay so strong when the storm rages on? For me, that's easy. 'Cause I'm lost in the ocean, away from the city. Nobody here to stand beside of me. These red sails won't fly my boat anymore. Oh, my red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, my red sails. My red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, my red sails won't fly. Oh, won't fly my boat. Yeah, boy. We used to sail forever on the shore. I set sail from. How do you wait so long while the storm rages on? For me, at sea. 'Cause I'm lost in the ocean, away from the city. Nobody here to stand beside of me. These red sails won't fly my boat anymore. My red sails, oh, red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, my red sails. My red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, red sails, oh, red sails, my red sails won't fly. Oh, won't fly my boat. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. 'Cause I'm lost in the ocean, away from the city.